Audio check. No. So.
All right, if I could ask y'all to quiet down, we're gonna get started. I'm gonna play chairman for just a second here tonight because our chairman's out. I'm gonna have our board members who are present for tonight, go ahead and make a motion for one of the four to act as chairman tonight, and then y'all will vote on it. So if I could get a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we send Tim as chair for tonight.
And then I just need a vote. Nancy Jean,
I second, yes.
Rachel,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
Tim. I guess you don't have a choice. All right, so we will go ahead and get started. So we'll go ahead and Tim, if you want to start with the minutes.
Sure. Do I need to read that little paragraph that Phil normally reads or?
No, I think that's
Okay, we're good with that. All right, so we have the meeting minutes from September the 5th. Do I have a motion that we accept these meeting minutes?
I'll make a motion that we accept them.
And a second?
I'll second.
Great. The meeting minutes are approved as noted.
all right. And now we're gonna have time for public hearing. You'll be called up in the order that you signed up. Butch Burbage for 612 South Laurel. Now, this is for public comment, not your presentation. Okay, you're presenting, you're the applicant. Okay, sorry. So this part is just for anyone who has comments on the agenda items for tonight. So Laura, I'm assuming you'll come up when they have questions about the project. And Miss Lisa Hammerly for 300, it says North Main, but I'm assuming it's for South Main. So you'll just need to come up and right now, public hearing is right now. If you had a comment you wanted to make or ask.
More of the comments, I just have questions about it.
So the public hearing portion this is for everyone, not just for you, but for anyone who hasn't come to the meeting. We have public hearing first. So you can come up and make any public hearing comments on any of the items on tonight's agenda. That will be your time to speak. That's the public hearing time. And then once we're done with that, we go through the projects they're presented. And the applicant has an opportunity to present to the board. If they have questions, but if you do have public comment, or you want to, ask questions to the applicant later, that you can do that. But this right now is the time where you would make any comments that you have or state any questions. And then that way the applicant can respond to those when they come up to present.
Yeah, then I have a question.
Okay, please come up and speak into the mic for us. And you will have 3 minutes. If you want to fill that time, that's up to you, but
Sure.
I hand over the floor to you.
The questions that I had for Mike were just whether this was to be a small income property that he's fixing to build on that property, or if it's just an additional building like a shed. I wasn't aware which one it was, so I wanted to know that. Just because with the number of little income properties that are already on Second Street, and Mike is at Second and Main, it creates a lot more traffic, a lot more trash, a lot more noise. And it's just, as a homeowner right there, it just doesn't really appeal to me to have more of that. And I know it's the shishi thing to do right now is to put in these little income properties, but that's kind of what they are. So anyway, that's it. just concerned about my neighborhood. Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Myself off. Does anyone have any other public comments that didn't sign up? Okay, we'll move forward with the first agenda item.
Great. And Becca, I'll just put a clarification out there to kind of answer that question. You know, we look at architectural intent of the property and whether he can or cannot do that is a town issue from a zoning perspective. And this is not the board that reviews that. So we don't have a say in whether that's an income property or not an income property. We're just simply looking at the architectural merits of what he wants to do. Does that make sense? Basically, that's right. Yes, ma'am.
But you can go to town council.
Yeah.
Let me clarify further. And I'm happy to discuss this with you after the meeting or anytime during office hours too about short-term rental regulations. That's what you're talking about, short-term rentals, like Airbnb, things like that. So really, and again, I want us to get started on the items at hand, but there's just a special permit for that has to be applied for as long as the person owns the property and lives there full time and meets certain conditions, they can use it as a short-term rental. But I'm happy to talk with you about that after the meeting.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you. So our first applicant is Old Business is 212 South Gum Street. Is that right, Becca? Is that where we're?
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
So this is a resubmittal for preliminary review. Mr. Steele has come back after receiving comments from the board, and he is going to present any changes or updates to the plan for y'all.
Just getting the preliminary on the garage design and layout, and then mainly trying to get on the site plan to see if I need to get approval on the layout of the site plan. I added the garage in there just as preliminary review to see if I need to get an architect to redraw this. I need to get somebody to redraw it, but I was just trying to get something in front of you guys to see if that would be acceptable to put on the plot plan as shown on the plot plan, as well as the fence design and layout on the plot plan. Just trying to get the plot plan shored up before moving forward with an architect on the garage. I guess the pool layout, everything is included in that, the impervious surface calculations as well.
So I think for my fellow board members, it's important to note that the doors are not facing the street. They're facing the back of the house. If you look at the garage orientation there. And so just as we review this, we'll want to think about the elevation that faces West 2nd Street or East 2nd Street.
Is that the left elevation?
That would be, yes, the left elevation. And there will be a privacy fence, or there's intention to be a privacy fence right there as well.
And that's included as well, the privacy fence. I didn't remember seeing that in here, but I just probably skipped it or missed it when I went through this.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Thanks.
There's quite a few things on it. There's a front door change as well.
Oh, yes, I saw the front door change.
So here's the privacy fence that exists around the property currently.
And that's your neighbor's fence, I'm assuming?
Yes, the one on the far side, on the right side is neighbor's fence. The one on the back is technically on my property.
Okay,
And this is just a retaining.
wall you built.
Yeah, pretty much a
Okay.
retaining wall to level the ground out.
Correct. That's right. They're not facing, it kind of looks like when you look at the elevations, they'd be facing the street, but I wanted to make sure you guys notice that they do not. Alrighty.
Becca, does the fence meet the criteria where it steps down, or should it step down to meet the street?
this rear one that here,
Yeah,
that fence was existing and I believe taken down and repaired from my understanding.
Yes.
I am not aware, that right of way is very wide. It's one of the like 100-foot wide right of ways that we have here in downtown. So I am pretty positive that no, it does not meet that step down, but I also know that it does not come as far
Okay.
out.
understood.
And it won't be the same. It's a different style fence that I have. I think that's later. And
Yeah.
And this is what you want to build here?
yes, yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
So
All right. And can you show us back on the site plan exactly where the new fence would be located?
it is in pink.
Okay.
So the blue drawing or the blue pin line would be like the iron fence, the smaller 3-foot tall iron fence around the rest of the yard to kind of
Okay.
enclose the rest of the yard.
Up
Right.
here.
Got it. And do we have that as well? Or iron fence?
I think it transitions here, yeah. We
Okay.
have one there, which I
One there.
believe is the same one, just different side.
And the same type design here with the post and the wall? See the little knee wall that it's sitting on?
Yeah, the brick wall.
So it'd be
right
the
there.
same type design?
Yeah, yeah, I think that probably best matches the historic area.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good, great looking fence.
Any breaks in the fence? The gates are.
At the front, so at the front of the property line, there's a small 4-foot just gate to get to that yellow. That yellow is a walkway, a paver walkway out to the front street. And then we
Mhm.
also have I've got one man door on the next to the paver drive. And then obviously I would have to do a double door of some sort to drive through to get to the backyard.
Right. And I'm assuming those gates, are they going to be automatic? Is that
The one on the driveway would just
driveway.
due to the having to keep it closed pretty much full time with the
Sure.
pool back there.
Okay. All righty.
Have you considered how that fence that goes along the street edge, there's several trees there? Have you thought about how you're going to manage going around those trees with the foundation for your brick wall?
I'm gonna have to move it in. I don't want to zigzag it. I would like to make it a straight line. So it's not going to be able to be directly on the property line because that 38-inch pine is smack dab on the property line. So I am going to have to move it in right there in order to keep that, like I said, it's
And
The
you-
a straight
arborist
line.
and I will work with
Okay.
him, the
Okay.
town arborist and I will work with him to make sure it's
Okay.
done appropriately in respect to the trees.
Would
Okay.
you consider pushing how far back the wrought iron fence goes? So maybe it lines up with the back of your house instead of then having the larger paneled fence come along and then die into the side of your house?
Just back to where the 16.7.
Yeah, the back corner.
Is.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, we can do that.
It makes a little more sense when you kind of look at that site and the house and everything from a visual perspective.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
And then
first,
there's one last, let's just, while we're hitting them, let's get to the front door.
Yeah.
And just let
Yeah.
them see the front door real quick for you guys.
So the only thing here that I was doing is just trying to change the grid pattern to a little less busier grid pattern. So that's the old grid pattern. And there would be the new grid pattern with a little bit more open
oh,
side lights on it.
What was it before? Can you show us? Okay,
I don't mind less grids. I think it might suit your house, but I do find it odd that the side lights don't have the same grid pattern as the door. There's something really reinforcing like the massiveness and the welcoming of a door when the side lights have, the same grid pattern that goes across. Had you thought about that?
I think when you have that many grids, that's on the original.
Yeah,
um,
But
it-
you've gone to really just a 4, right?
Right.
you could carry the side, like the height of the horizontal bar going across from, that's not the door we were
Yeah, a
just
little
shown.
further down.
Yeah. So that just has a straight grid, but if that horizontal grid was carried across to the side lights,
Mhm.
I think it would make the door, it's like the door and the side lights feel like a unit
Mhm.
instead of being like three components.
Yeah. Personally, I think doing the 1/1 on the side light, I think that looks more odd than doing it with just the one light.
The biggest thing is just a more contemporary look. And so in what is a historic house, it's probably just not appropriate because it doesn't lend itself to the historic
Yeah,
nature of the house.
I've never seen the 1/1 on the side lights. I'm not
Yeah.
opposed to it. That's not, in my mind, that looks more clean, I guess, but the historical side, you guys would have more.
Yeah, it is unusual to have 1/1 on the side light. I don't know that I've ever
It's-
seen it either, but I've never seen a historic house with one single big side light either.
I
Right.
I mean, in a weird way, I appreciate why you're trying to have less grids in the front door, but the rest of your windows have,
Yeah.
you know, a number. Is there,
Yeah, I have to kind of agree that the original submission is probably more appropriate for,
yeah, can you show us the original again? Do you know what? There you have 4. You could go to 3 and just have less and have it still feel like it's like maybe it doesn't have to be quite as,
small as they are.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you had 3, you just leave it at 4 to, that I don't think it's less busy as 3. Obviously, it's a little less busy.
Yeah.
You might want to just draw it only because the proportions of the windows with just slightly bigger glass. I mean, I prefer this to the one that you just proposed, given where your location is, and if the completely clear side lights, I don't think works. But if you wanted something just a little less, you could try having, 3 horizontal instead.
All right, well, let's run back to the garage and let's start there. And we'll
Yeah.
look for comments on the garage and we'll work our way back around the site again.
Yeah. So you're primarily looking for, do we feel like the siding and the massing is okay? And then you're going to work further on the architecture? Or are you saying, like, what are you exactly asking for tonight?
Correct. So the previous garage, if you guys remember, was a 2-story garage,
Mhm.
unsightly. So I was trying to get it had stairs coming off the right side.
Right,
So I moved the stairs to the interior of the garage, drop it down to where it doesn't necessarily look like a 2-story garage. It more looks like a 1-story with a loft
Right.
over top of it. So pretty much the sizing, I think, of it. And then I would get with the architect and get any
Right.
details on there.
Okay.
well, I appreciate how many changes you've made. And I'm really happy to see that there isn't an exterior stair. I think that that's really, really nice. And I appreciate that you're trying to figure out ways to reduce the massing. But my gut feeling is that having the long side facing the street with a single window and this fairly plain massing with the kind of slopes that you've got makes it look like a very suburban little shed garage. And it doesn't feel very historic in the massing of it. So I'm not sure, again, I applaud you for the attempts of where you're going. I don't think that this works for me yet either in the massing of it. And because I don't think that the massing is appropriate, the location then exaggerates the inappropriateness.
Have
Okay.
you considered driving straight into the garage from the street? With the driveway going straight into the street instead of coming through the fence and making that turn?
I think there's a deal where the garage would have to be so far off the property line and it would
Oh,
push it to the
right.
middle.
So your
of
side of your
the-
garage can be closer than the front of the garage is.
Yeah,
that the way that
I'm
reads?
pulling up
Okay.
that requirement in the UDO, right?
Yeah, I think it's wherever the garage doors are facing. So if
It's,
the-
I know it's 20 feet, but I have to pull up the exact verbiage. If it faces the right of way, it has to either be 20 feet from the property line or 20 feet from where the drive enters the street. But I will get that while we're
And if there was to be a variance, that would be granted by the zoning.
Board of Zoning Appeals, yes.
Board of Zoning Appeals. Got it. Would you, if you could get that appeal granted, would you prefer that? Because we could probably, I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but from my opinion, we could probably say, hey, we would prefer in this case that the garage doors face and that there would be a an easement grant or a variance granted at the zoning board of appeals if they so chose to do it.
and then just put the garage to the side,
Basically rotate it 90 degrees.
or not garage, sorry, the fence. The fence would tie into the corner of the garage.
Right. Yeah.
Stop. So you would see garage doors.
You'd see the garage doors from the street.
I wouldn't mind.
Because
that,
there's
yeah.
lots that to be said for that, because you'd have the articulation of the garage doors, you'd have some kind of canopy over it, you'd have a narrower width, you'd have a gable. I mean, we can talk further about, is this all still exactly right? But the point is you'd have some architecture to actually break up the mass and make it look
Mhm.
like it is more appropriate in the historic district. And I'm just wondering about the slope of your roof too. Beck, is there a height limitation? Isn't it the height of the main house?
Because this is a 2-story home, yes, it cannot be taller than the primary structure.
And is that this height?
The height of the garage is far less than the height of
Yeah, I
the,
think he's bringing it down, trying to.
You're trying to
the
make it
mass.
look smaller and less massive, right?
Yes, yeah.
But it's still like a really flat slope.
right. So I can lift that. What I was trying to do was get it to make
Right.
it look a little bit more like the house actually.
Yes,
So it
yeah.
mimics like a smaller version of the
Yeah.
existing home.
Becca, could you pull up the drawings of the house? Is there a side view of those?
I did not include that because I did not think we'd.
Do you know what the pitch is on the existing house?
Like, I thought it looked steeper. than-
So the left gable, farther left gable is a 712. And then that goes into a 312 transition towards the rear of the home.
Okay,
So it's similar to the,
it is
it's
similar.
a similar pitch.
But
to the
what's
house.
different is that it's taller, like the wall height, and it's got, like, so it just doesn't feel so. You know. Can you go back again, Becca, to the garage? I don't know how easy or hard it would be for you to ask for a variance, but I can comment that the amount of articulation that you're able to get by being able to use garage doors, the little shed, the dormer and the windows and things like that, that you have far more likelihood of being able to break up this mass and create something that looks appropriate in the historic district than having this side elevation with a pretty unadorned wall. Anyway,
That big
I've
blank wall
paused.
does not look like the historic district is in layman's terms. That's,
Right. Yeah.
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 and if there's a way to turn it, that we can help.
Or you need to figure out some other way to create some architecture on that side. Does it have a bay that bumps out that maybe is your little storage alcove or, and then you could put windows in there to create something that's more like there's more to the garage than just the box.
Mhm.
So there are other pieces you can do if you can't get the variance or there's, no justification fees for the variance, but you need to have some more architecture facing the street.
Right. And this is, again, just a preliminary
Preliminary, sure.
due to the last garage that I
Right,
submitted, just to try to get
yeah.
in the right
Understand.
direction with you
Yeah, yeah.
guys to see these kind of comments on it.
Yes. Well, I'll just sum things up here. I think for everybody, you're heading in the right direction.
Yes,
Much, much better, 100 times better than the last one. Great job.
yes.
Two things we'd ask you to look at. And I think we could probably, I don't know, do we give preliminary approval, Becca?
No.
We don't, we
Yes,
just give
yes,
feedback.
not conceptual, but you can vote on preliminary.
Okay, so we could give preliminary approval on the height, scale and mass of the general size and location, right?
Mhm.
I think what we would like for you to do is two things, and y'all speak up if I'm saying this incorrectly. Number one would be investigate rotating the garage 90 degrees. That would be, I think, our preference, that the doors face the street and you would drive straight in, which would give you much more yard and you wouldn't have to have gate operators and garage door operators, right? So benefit there. And then the second one, if that's not an option, or if you can't get through the BZA, or you just don't want to go down that route, would be this elevation that faces the street, enhancing the architecture for that so that it is more appropriate and then more detailed. But I think otherwise you're on the right track with where you're heading. Does that sound correct, guys? Do y'all agree with
Yes.
basically those comments?
Before you guys continue with that, sorry, this 300-page document is hard to memorize, so garage doors which face a public right of way, except for rear alleyways, must be set back a minimum of 20 feet from that right of way.
And what does note 4 say?
In addition to the setback requirements listed above, basically the same, garage doors which face a public right of way, except for alleyways, must be set back a minimum of 20 feet from that right of way. It's the same thing.
Okay, got it. And so this is not really written for a corner lot.
You know what, my feeling based on what's required for BZA is that it won't be granted because it's then just your preference. It's not really a hardship.
Gotcha.
And that doesn't qualify you for asking for variance. So then I'm back to saying, I think you need to create more architecture and it may need to have some bays created, more windows, maybe it's windows with shutters, but it's something is needed more to create mass breakup on that side.
Well, let me ask Becca a question. Is it become a hardship if we say the doors have to be rotated the other direction?
That depends on how you argue it and the interpretation. So it could be,
Could be.
it could be used as a hardship.
It's your option. We can't direct you there, but yeah, if you choose that you want to go down that route, I think you can go with the hardship as the BAR is wanting me to put these doors facing the street for a historic architectural context. And because of the wide right of way there, they work with the location on the site.
But if you go that route, I would also want to just ask you or raise it further for our consideration. You have this really pretty wrought iron fence that's going to go around the front and the side. If we're now arguing that this little building is going to be part of the historic fabric, should we also be saying then that the wrought iron fence goes right up to our garage instead of it goes to this panel thing?
But I think he's trying to get privacy for his pool and backyard. And so I think that's a fair request. And we,
But if he's not taking space for his driveway, can he do something further back for that? I'm just asking, like provoking, like if we're arguing that this is what's needed because it's a historic district and we're wanting a historically precedent, right? I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
asking you what your thoughts are.
I mean, that's certainly a worthy comment.
I think
but-
the privacy fence is all over
Somerville.
town
Yeah.
of Somerville in the
Yeah.
historic district, not to make that, you can't argue previous homes. Same thing with the garage, those garages, I've looked at quite a few since our last meeting, and
Yeah.
there's quite a few garages that are similar to this garage, I feel.
Very, very much so.
And I know that it's closer to the property line, but it's also closer to, or it's farther away with that right of way.
Right.
And if I, I know the fence also, again, doesn't negate the lack of detail on there. I also think the left elevation detail is very similar to the house detail. On.
If you were showing us that, that might be
Yeah, might would help with that.
helpful too. Like this thing?
Yes, yeah. Well, this is the whole left elevation here. So that there.
But if you look at this, it's like a little thing with a shed roof. But it's got two windows. It has shutters. It has a foundation height. It has a water table. It has a little, like, it's got a lot more than what you're showing us.
Yeah, this is correct.
This is old.
This is
Oh.
the original.
Right.
So
We approved this?
evidently.
No, it must have been before my time.
No.
I guess what I would say is that it just is in the context of more.
Yeah.
Windows with shutters and still a foundation wall, and it still has more architecture than what you currently have.
All right. Let's,
And it
we-
could be that you just have to think about, do I need to add more architecture to this, like windows with shutters on the lower level, or do I do something with the trim band, or how do I work it?
so take a look at that. The fence, is everybody okay with the fence that's submitted?
Yeah.
I think that looks generally good. I like Rachel's suggestion that move it back to the corner with the wrought iron fence. So I'd say that would be one. And on the front door, I think our this direction there would be no, stay with the original design.
Okay.
And so,
Can you go to the 3 windows?
or the three, if you want to investigate that and see. I mean, he's going to come back with a garage door. So if he looks at the 3 and says, hey, I want to do that, you could
Yeah.
bring it back then for final approval. So
Yeah.
let's do this. Let's make a motion that we give them preliminary approval for height, scale, and mass at the garage, approval of the fence, and no on the front door. And so would somebody make a motion along those lines? If y'all are in agreement? Would you like me to make the motion? Okay, so I'll make a motion that we give them preliminary approval for height, scale, and mass of the garage, approval on the fence as submitted, approval on the wrought iron fence,
Oh, yeah.
on the wrought iron fence, except it shall extend to the corner of the back corner of the house, and rejection of the front door, the revised front door.
I'll second.
All right, so let's take a vote then. Nancy Jean,
I second. Yep. Yes.
okay,
Yes.
Yes.
and I'm yes as well.
Thank you, guys.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you.
Yep. Thank
Thanks for
you.
your patience. Appreciate it. All right, 101 Briarwood Lane is next.
So this was an already approved project. Upon inspection, final BAR inspection, staff found that there were some changes, which I listed on my staff report. Would you like me to go through those real
Please,
quick?
please,
Okay.
if you don't mind.
So the following changes, there were some minor items that were completed, some painting, but these were the changes that the applicant wished to bring before y'all. So the original condition of approval for the top portion of the chimney was part of the condition of approval to be finished or made of brick. It is now, I believe, this fiber stucco cement finish. Stucco. Sorry, this is. So the approved plan showed stucco finish on the foundation piers. They appear to be brick or finished with brick. Some of the massing and spacing between the piers versus the spacing of the screening panels aren't quite the same. And then that was most evident on the rear. Sorry, y'all. Wants to keep jumping around on me. The front door has windows on the plans has windows versus a solid door on the plans. Same with the rear door. On the back porch, there's a shed roof over the rear door on the deck that is not present. The stairs have just a little bit stairs and railings have a little bit more or less detailing than shown in drawings. There was it seemed to be a discrepancy, and I'll scroll down and show this to you, in the roof line that appears to give a bump out on the back of the house. But that, was just, I think, incorrectly drawn on the elevation. The footprint of the home has always remained the same. I went back and checked through all of the drawings, so I'll hop through there. Do y'all want me to go to the pictures first or the drawings?
Either one, whichever you think is.
So here is the front of the house, and this is the portion of the chimney that I mentioned that was supposed to be brick veneer.
And is it brick on the first floor?
Yes.
It is.
The spacing between the piers, and you can see here that these are cement finish or stucco finish, and they are now brick. I think those were the only one. The door is shown as solid. It has windows. I don't believe there were any issues on this elevation. Again, the spacing is slightly different with the venting. On the rear, you see this little shed roof, that is not present. Again, the spacing back here is a little bit different, and this is the roof line that you'll see once we get to the pictures. That is a little bit different. So I'll jump to those pictures now. So here is chimney. And this has since been finished, the screen room.
Yes.
This is just another vantage point of that chimney from the backs or right-hand side of the house. I also didn't mention this, but the steps were, I believe, shown as wood, but they are now brick. So these are the front steps. And you can see here where the shed roof was shown. And then this door was also solid. It does now have windows, a simpler detailing on these porch railings. And I believe these stairs were also wood. Let's see. And this will show you kind of the roof line difference.
Ooh.
Jump back up to that drawing. There we were, yes. And George, I don't know if you want to talk through some of the changes.
I guess starting with maybe the foundation might be the easiest. We did appear at Irving.
And are you the homeowner or the builder?
This- I'm the builder.
You're the builder. Okay, thank you.
So we did appear in Burton Foundation with the louvers. We did switch it to brick. I think part of the spacing was determined by the structural integrity for the foundation. We went with louvers all the way around to match. Honestly, I didn't see, with looking at it and then building it, where the spacing was different. I did just something I didn't notice at the time when we built the CMU piers, but we did continue the 1x6 louvers all the way around. And then we did brick the piers themselves and then match the stairs. Again, at the time, it was a change that we decided to go with no disrespect to the historical committee regarding the aesthetics of it. Really thought that it upped the game a little bit, so to speak, as far as just the standard wood step. We continue with the wood rails, the front door. We actually made a change from taking the transom out and then raise it up to the 8-foot level for the header. I was looking through my phone. I got the same one where we had it open, but it does match the back door if you can see the back door on that other photo,
All three doors.
yeah, all
I
three
wanna make
doors
sure.
match. And then it also has the same grid pattern as the windows, the 2/2, I guess it would be.
And is the pier spacing on the front elevation per the original drawings? I know the stucco is different, but the spacing aligns with the columns.
On the front, it probably matches pretty well with the piers.
Do we have a picture of that, Becca?
Picture shows that.
Kind of a combination.
Yeah, you can sort of see the size of the one to the left of the stair there.
Yes,
Matching.
it appears to. I just couldn't tell for sure from here.
Yeah, and I can show you my structural page. That helps. That'll show you where.
And you can,
Piers are.
sure, thank you.
So that would be all the spacing for the pier.
And my question, I guess, on the front is the porch columns aligned with these piers, correct?
Structurally.
Yes, sir. Or architecturally is what I'm worried about.
Remember, I would think. I want to say there's like maybe 10 columns total, so it probably makes sense that the load points would be coming down right there in those piers.
Sure. So one of the things we look at is that symmetry that the porch column comes down to the pier and that they're not offset or hidden in the middle of a louver or something like that.
So on my plan set here, the front elevation, that would be what we have in the front elevation. So yeah, so they do come down in line.
Okay, good. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that they actually came down. And then on the side, you went with those piers being exposed. Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
That's the part.
Finished, right? Yeah. So that shows you what it kind of looks like, the brick piers.
So the brick was directly under the posts.
They are.
And that's the same brick that we had presented at the time. And honestly, I thought that we had talked about it
I did. I
for
thought
the
that
foundation. That was always a plan for the foundation.
also about the brick. Yeah.
The chimney is a completely different story, and what happened was we got into framing and realizing that the weight of the brick was just gonna be too much for what we had. So we just kept the brick down in the screen porch area, and then we went with the stucco up above. For the original plan, although I do know that we had talked about it, that was what we wanted from a weight and what we had framed there, the cost of that at the time was just exorbitant, let's say. And we decided to go with this.
You're saying that the brick was too heavy?
It would have been over time, cracking, the potential for cracking.
Even the pavers?
Well, this particular brick, we didn't have a thin choice. And I'd known from other homes.
And a structural engineer could have solved that problem for you. I mean, that's not a
Yeah,
really good reason, to be quite honest.
it's
So,
not, but a little bit of a hardship with the cost for the overall for Miss Smith was starting to come to fruition there. And we wanted to, do the best that we could, so that we didn't end up with a product that was incompleteness.
Well, you dressed up the piers. Sorry, you dressed up the piers and you dressed up the stairs, which are all great. And I like the door changes, so I think that that is also appropriate. I'm really sorry that you chose not to continue the brick on the chimney. What are your thoughts?
It's the kind of thing that we expected it to be a certain way. If there was a problem, we would want you to come to us beforehand rather than after the fact. It saves you money to do that, and it makes it more comfortable for you. I don't know anything about engineering. I'm the aesthetics person. So I could not tell you that I know that the brick would be too heavy or it would not be too heavy. But it's the kind of thing that once you've been approved, we expect that to be followed. If there's a problem, then come and talk to us about it.
And I apologize for that. Again, we're out there, we're trying to troubleshoot what we had going on.
Yeah.
Ultimately, we tried to make the best decision for what we had in front of us at the time. By no means to try to circumvent the committee here. In fact, I'll be in front of you probably another 60 days for Will Taylor. Hopefully not. We'll be in a lot better shape with him. I'm just thinking back to Taylor Sharp. You guys know him. So I forget me to do.
The frame of that.
Yeah.
They were
So
way ahead of the brick.
and we just didn't have it. I didn't have it engineered, and then we get there. My brick mason's telling me, "Listen, you're going to have trouble down the way." Again, I apologize.
I love that you use the brick on the piers and the bottom half of the chimney. I would love to see that consistency going up. Is there any way to add a paver onto that?
So, I mean, and where we were at that point, it would have been, somewhat of a little bit of a remodel demolition around there. One suggestion might be if it appeases, we could paint it, the stucco is paintable. I would say that coming off of Central there, it is heavily wooded. So aesthetically, you don't even see the chimney unless you're, literally walking down Central at that point.
Is it gray or white or what?
So it's just a gray, just a standard stucco gray.
And that's why we went with that color to make it less obvious than it was.
But it is something that would be paintable if we needed to get up there and paint it. We certainly could paint it to maybe blend in a little bit better with the landscaping that's around it.
So you have white. You have white siding, blue ceiling, brick that is beige brown-ish. White columns. Is the roof black?
The roof shingles are black, yes. Yeah, the brick is Oyster Bay, I believe, with a beige mortar. I forget the exact color of the siding, but it's a white. And then what you see for the trim, the foundation is what we call it, colors Rocky Top. So it's essentially
It's close to
Charleston.
Charleston green,
Yeah.
it's a little more green too.
The
Right.
same color that she had painted her barn 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And the stairs are the same brick?
So the stairs are the same brick, all solid,
Right.
wood rails and caps. But 4 caps.
I just would love to see that consistency, and I just think in the long run, you're gonna be so much happy with that.
I'm happy with the brick steps. I don't mind that being switched out from the wood, and it does last longer and it looks
It looks
Um,
amazing.
in the right period.
We also covered the HVAC. You can sort of see it in the back there. Built a stand for it, so took it off the ground to match with the elevated foundation. And that'll be, that'll be painted. We'll paint that green too.
What about the back gable? That's what
So-
bugs me the most.
And I don't recall, but what we did was, so if you see that there, you can see the extension to, I guess it would be the left, if you're looking at it, that's actually the sunroom that we had added on. So where that roof came together, it just wasn't drawn right. We actually had the whole roof was stick frame, but we had to actually go in there and really weave that all together. So I think that's where Becca was talking about the issue with the drawings, not really having that 3 dimension. And then the back porch was just that little shed roof. And honestly, that just got missed, but what we ended up doing was putting it around I forget if it's 5 or 6 round gutters there to cover any rainfall coming down.
So the original plan had just the master bedroom sticking out in the middle of the home. And we wanted a little sunroom to add an addition to the bedroom. But to the right, so it makes sense to balance out the back and let that be able to work the deck like the railing. That kind of thing. Make it so small. The original plan had a very small stoop porch area there. I want a little more space, so we said, let's bring it out to even out that.
So,
And that's kind of what happened.
so the sunroom wasn't shown on the original, on when you came to us.
You know, I believe, and again, going back. But yeah, it should have all been part of the original submission. I know that it was that I submitted to the town for my building permit, so I'm not sure how.
These are your building permit plans. These are the plans that were submitted for
Follow
permit.
citizen serve.
Mm-hmm.
See that, so the Mosier design, that's where she got the original plan from, and then I had them modified.
Because this was the one where you added the note that said chimney will be brick veneer, and that was,
Did here,
yeah, and that, so these were the plans that I signed off on for the permit.
so what was on citizen serve then, because
This,
they must have this as an addendum then, with the sunroom. And the porch extension, because that's what they would have inspected off of.
well, I'll be very honest with you. From my understanding, I don't think that our building inspectors verify the footprint in the field. Unfortunately, I wish the planning department had more or any inspectors. I only go out to inspect once you're done. So
Mhm, gotcha. I'm sorry, I don't know 101 Briarwood, but is that, this is not a corner lot, correct? It is a corner lot.
It is, so it's where Dorchester, Central and Briarwood. So
Oh, sure, come together right there. Got it.
it was carved off of, the original videos.
Got it.
So we've got the barn off to that upper left that we renovated here about a year and a half ago. That was already existing back in the 90s, never finished inside.
Mhm.
Finished that off.
Then they did that.
Did some exterior repairs. It was in,
So when I'm looking at this site plan, is it, there's that porch that's on the lower left side. Is that wall extending now what that sunroom is and it's all straight?
yes, so, and that's how it's drawn on the site plan, how it, that upper left corner or that back right corner of the house is all squared off. That's the master and the sunroom area. And then you've
Okay.
got the porch right below it. So we essentially squared off the house. Where it was originally a little choppy back there, we added that sunroom. Yeah. And then we took that roof down.
I mean, overall, it's a great looking house. And it's a very attractive. This elevation that Becca has, the way you've framed it is just awkward. And it's not very attractive. It's not very historic. And so that's the one that gives me the biggest grief out of all this other stuff. The brick steps, great. I mean, they look
Yeah.
great. They're better than the wood steps. The brick piers, although they're proud of the house, which is not actually correct. I'm okay with that. But we don't like the way that projects out. And that's one of those little details we ask you to avoid. So what we typically would say is stucco and or you can thin brick those piers because we want that to be in line and you don't have that little 4-inch projection sticking out around the house. The screening from my perspective on the bottom looks fine, looks good. So maybe we should go back to Becca's list and just kind of talk about each one and kind of, I think we're probably just gonna have to kind of get a consensus on each one. Because it's kind of a
That's
mixed
true.
bag here.
If they had asked for the stucco or the brick piers, we would have looked at a different,
We would have just said use thin brick,
or a
Right.
different water table.
right,
tray.
or a different word table, that's right. So. All right, so the chimney, how do you guys feel about the chimney? What do y'all want to ask for there?
I'd like to see it with a thin brick.
Okay,
And even if it doesn't exactly match the other brick, you can get close enough with thin brick. It is much less drastic change to see a slightly different brick than it is to see the stucco.
okay,
So, again, I'm not want to speak for Laura's finances, but the cost for that's going to be pretty high. with the opportunity that exists to just stucco down below instead and cover the brick chimney, with the brick portion down there.
You stucco.
I mean, I know there's other homes in historic that have that.
And then we can investigate what brick there is that's been, does floral,
Again, from the labor
It's-
standpoint, the material to go in there and stucco, not that I want to cover that brick on the porch by any means, but you know, I'm talking possibly
This is like.
hundreds
so
of dollars
complicated and has
versus, you know,
underpairs, everything.
maybe as much as $5,000 or
That-
$6,000.
That wouldn't, no. I really
How-
feel strongly about the brick.
How about you check it out and see and investigate it? If it's possible that there is a thin brick that's a good enough match that it could be considered, please look at it and see. If it can't, then I think we need to look at what other things we could do.
Would painting be an option? So,
I think it's just gonna look like painted stucco.
sure.
Although I do think that the gray you've painted is, I mean, you've got the warmth of the brick and the gray does not go with that. So it is something that we could talk about, but I think
Yeah.
my board members are preferring brick.
And I just, right now, the stucco chimney is just so out of place. If you had the stucco foundation, the way originally was submitted, then you're kind of tying it together, but you did everything else out of brick. And then you just kind of stuck the stucco half chimney up there that doesn't tie to anything else on the house. And I kind of feel like that's kind of half the problem.
That's the
If it
problem.
was all stucco and we were stucco chimney, it would make more sense. We're all brick. We even have a brick chimney except for this little piece on the top, which is stucco. And
I
it
think
just,
when we approved it, it was a cohesive package.
right.
You know,
It was,
everything.
again, we were gonna break it, full disclosure, you know, we got there and we realized that the brick itself would be too heavy, so.
Yeah.
I know what we paid for the brickwork to begin with.
Sure.
I know what's gonna be involved if we had to go switch to a brick again.
Well, the thin brick is a much easier application. I mean, they just glue that to the stucco. And so, you still have to get somebody up there. You're still working on a roof. I get it. It's not cheap. I'm not trying to make it, but it's not like,
Skin the brick for maybe 1,000 down
Yeah.
below,
yeah.
but. the neat brick veneer on
But
top
then
of
we
it-
wanted you to take all the piers off and stucco all the piers. So y'all investigate that. We can investigate the thin brick on the chimney and we'll let you come back with that. The next one would be the foundation. I'm gonna say on the foundation, I'm typically okay with it, assuming we address the chimney. So anybody feel differently with this one?
I think that we approve all the other brick parts. Typically, if you'd come with brick at the beginning and said you wanted to have brick on the piers, we would have looked at the water table trim to accommodate that brick, or how are you going to match the two? On the other hand, I just feel that one piece is good enough. That I'm okay if we leave that and just say the brick is fine as a change. And the front stairs brick and the rear is fine as change.
Okay. Next page, Becca. I think everybody was okay with the front door.
Yeah,
Okay, so the front door was okay.
yeah.
The shed roof shown on the back, I expressed my concern with that. If this was on the front of the house, I would say absolutely not. But since it's on the back of the house and it's kind of all done, I'm willing to just let that go. But as the builder who has to come see us again and again, I screwed up on something in downtown Charleston one time. The guy told me after, he says, you only get this forgiveness one time. And so because we're being generous here as the builder, we expect you to know to come see us when you have to make changes to the plans that are submitted.
No, without a doubt.
It's like that one campus awning, eventually, like some of the houses that have those big.
One of those sundowner automatic.
Yeah. I'm gonna let her answer that question.
It's a permanent structure, not just one pop-up thing. It's a permanent structure, you're attaching it. It would go. Typically, the shade sail is something that has come before the board. You've seen them for like the playgrounds around historic Somerville, but I'm very limited in what I can approve. It's generally maintenance in kind, painting, roofing. It does include awnings. So it really depends on visibility and what exactly you're putting up. So the answer is maybe. But
It sounds like you.
I don't, but I.
I-
don't foresee
That would be the safest thing.
being-
Yeah. And I guess I didn't. Well, and I didn't clarify the shed roof that's missing. I'm personally okay with that missing.
Yeah.
It was the left-hand side roof line that I have that bothered me. So I apologize. I wasn't clear with that. So that's my bad. But that's the one I'm willing to say it's kind of done. We'll just let it go. And if you guys are.
Tim, let me ask you something. If he had used thin brick instead of the stucco, even though we approved it as brick, would that have been acceptable to us? Because you could see the brick?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if he had just called,
If he had used
Back
thin
up.
brick on the chimney instead of stucco,
Yeah.
it would have cost the same thing and that would have been
Yeah.
fine too.
I would have approved the final inspection. Well,
Right.
barring these other
you-
items, but if the chimney were the only issue, yeah.
Right, so thin brick on the chimney, you didn't need to put stucco and then thin brick, you could have put thin brick straight to the sheathing underneath it for probably the same cost.
The border saying it's below.
Correct, that's right, yeah.
mhm,
And then the rear elevation bump out. Oh, I'm sorry, the lack of detail on the stair post on the back. Y'all okay with what's done?
Yeah.
I am as well.
I'm not going to be picky about that.
And then we talked about the roof and then the rear elevation bump out corner board shown in drawings, but not present on the house.
That was
Not
the little bay.
sure. What was that?
There's a little
Oh.
bay that had paneling.
Okay, got it. Okay. And I'm okay with that. too.
Yeah.
So,
So really, we just need to investigate the brick at the chimney.
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah,
So. Here's the $1 million question. I have a temp CO that was Smith's living in the house with right now.
mhm.
Obviously, I realize we need to find approval here. I believe that temp CO might run out here in the near future. Is there something that we can do to either extend that until we can get what's it?
I can extend the temp CO. Really, that's the only thing we can hold up at this point because the house is finished. So I would extend the temp CO to whenever, I would extend it 30 day or, whenever the next deadline for the November board meeting is October 13th for the November 7th. So I would extend it to November 8th.
Is it possible, instead of having to wait that long, can we do this administratively if I get information?
That would
We
be-
we have the special board meeting coming back on the
When
26th.
you wouldn't say that.
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
We're just adding more on there. No, it's
Sorry.
okay. No, we are having a special meeting for an agenda item that couldn't be heard tonight due to lack of quorum. That is it hasn't been posted yet, but it will be tomorrow. It will be on October 26th.
So if I have the information by then,
And if y'all can find the thin brick that works, I'm okay with Becca approving that as
Yeah,
well. If you
me
guys
too.
are.
So
So you wouldn't have to come back to us at all. You
it would
just-
only be if you had an alternative to,
no, my plan is to go down to Boral tomorrow and see what they have. Again, thin brick I know is limited, but we'll find something and then get an idea of getting it installed.
Okay.
With matching mortar to the rest of
Yeah,
it.
it'll be, yeah,
Mhm.
without a doubt. That's,
Mhm.
that part's easy.
All
I
right,
think
so we'll be,
that's the best solution
Yeah.
to a tough problem.
all right, so we'll need a motion. Y'all want me to make the motion or would you someone else?
I want you to make the motion because you were particular about the correct way to say it.
All right. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve the changes made to the plans with the exception of the stucco chimney. We ask the applicant to go back and investigate thin brick that closely matches the brick that's been used on the rest of the house. And we want to also warn the builder that this cannot be a reoccurring occurrence. And the next time we will not do this. So if you come back again, the next time we're going to say no to everything. So
You aren't the first
you
and
get
you
one
won't be the
forgiveness,
last.
one forgiveness as the builder. All right.
All
We
right,
have a second.
I'll second.
All right. All in favor, Nancy Jean,
Yes.
Yes.
Rachel?
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm yes as well. All right.
You have one quick question. Speaking of that, where is there a grid pattern minimum for windows and doors? Just out of curiosity?
Minimum?
Yeah, like 6/3/3,
Yeah.
6/6.
It all depends on the architecture of the house,
And the
So,
size of the windows.
size of the
What we're
windows.
really looking for is rectangular
But
proportions.
2/2 is acceptable.
Yeah, yeah, lots of
Yep.
2/2s,
All right,
Yeah.
thank you all.
4/4s. Yeah. Alrighty, our next applicant is 311 South Gum Street.
This was also a previously approved design. The house has not been built yet. But the applicant is coming back, due to some, field conditions. They are having to change the design of the house slightly, not really the design, but the height, and foundation design. So Jody, if you want to talk us through that.
And thanks for coming before you build it, Jody.
Well, it is under construction. The foundation has been started, which is what sort of raised some red flags.
Mhm.
Have any of you had an opportunity to go walk the site? I wasn't sure if that was something that you guys typically did. We did provide some photographs. So, I want to say that first of all, apologies that we did not catch this sooner. As in the very first time we came in front of you, but there seem to have been some discrepancies with the topo that was provided by the surveyor.
Mm.
So honestly, until we started with the earthwork, we didn't realize that there were some discrepancies, and I kind of brought the whole team with me. Not only do I have the homeowners, the builder, Tom Priester, the site guy, who actually also happens to be my husband, so.
It's like
talk
site
about these
guy.
certain things a lot, so Charlie Crosby, did the site work, and then of course we got JR Kramer, his team did landscaping and grading, and the reason I brought these folks is because if you guys had any technical questions that I might not be able to answer, or maybe beyond my scope of understanding, I wanted to make sure that we could answer everything, that may need to get addressed tonight. So as you can see here, we've got the foundation was started. And as soon as we realized that there were some topographical discrepancies and it wasn't due to any grade changes that our team did, I can't explain why it was what it was, but the survey is almost 10 years old. I don't know what happened to that piece of property in the last 10 years, but things are definitely different. The thing that really got us thinking about the site conditions is that the property owner to the right was the property was so much higher than where our garage was going to be, which we kind of knew that we were going to be down in a valley, but we anticipated that the topography was going to be accurate and that everything was sort of going down the way that it needed to go down. But we quickly learned that the rainwater from the adjacent piece of property was going to land in the garage if we didn't do something about it. And obviously from a homeowner's perspective, that was very undesirable. From a warranty perspective, from the builder, very undesirable. And, everybody here has, sort of a stake in the game, and we just really needed to make sure that we got this right before it was too late. So we all met out on site. We stopped the foundation guys immediately. I started working very close we talked with the foundation guy. We were all hands on deck, just trying to come up with a solution. I worked very closely with the landscape architect team so that we could try to figure out what we needed to do, because not only did we know we needed to raise the foundation and the the presence of the home, which, it's a net +4 for the height, just so you guys are fully aware, it is from the street vantage point, it's 4 feet taller than what our original submission was. And the reason for that was to be able to bring that garage floor up high enough. Right now, the garage floor as proposed is only 6 inches higher than the adjacent lot. So, that's definitely, we needed a little bit of that fall so that we can just mitigate any runoff water. Which we are doing with the grading of the driveway. We're doing that with, some retaining walls. And I did want to say, I submitted a couple things a little bit later, Rebecca, and this one is actually the older one. If you wouldn't mind going to the one above that, that was completely my fault. Yep, right there, 64. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. Go down to 65 for me. As you guys can see, oh, that was the one that you were on. I can't think.
Yeah, these are dated 10/4.
Those are the
20.
But turning on the original height, was all that water flowing down the road, flowing down the driveway and the neighbor to the side. So let's say the rainwater only landed on the road in the driveway, not including the neighbor on the right. All that water would sheet flow right into that garage. So in order to stop that from occurring, we're still at a minimal height. So we try to keep it as low as possible. So in order to get that garage slab up to where I could get some fall from the garage over to the property line, this is the minimal height that we can come up.
So we also had some other challenges that we wanted to make sure we were not negatively impacting the backyard. You know, we had some trees back there. We know that we've got some fall back there. We obviously, I designed a house for a couple that isn't 20 years old anymore. Maybe 30, but nonetheless wanted to make it easy to navigate from the driveway to under the back deck, be able to get over the stairs. So if you look at the left elevation up there, actually right above where it says left elevation, you're gonna see that stairs. We came down so that we could hit a patio, so that we could then descend into the backyard, or we could go underneath the deck. We're also able to get on the driveway from that area as well. So we were trying to be extremely mindful of all of the many levels that this lot offers with its unique topography, so that we were not negatively impacting the trees in the back, and then just making it so that they were able to access all areas of, their house and their yard without a 5-foot drop off the back. I know. So I'm sure I could ramble on about a lot of things. Please ask me any questions that you guys have, anything that our team might be able to answer.
Becca, can you scroll down to the submission where it shows the old and the new back to back?
So if you go to 69, it's going to actually give you a comparison. top to
69,
bottom.
there you go. I think that's helpful for everybody to just kind of see it back to back. And-
I
So-
do want to remind everybody that front facade is, that is not a crawl space. That there's no intent to change that to a crawl space. That is a raise, that's going to be backfilled dirt. So as you guys are sort of thinking and going through the motions of just trying to check all the boxes, I just wanted to make sure that you guys remember that was going to be a raised slab.
Okay. And
So
I
say
think you
that,
can
say
go down
that
to,
again
I
to
think
me.
there are more there to go through. You can just kind
So
of,
due to the original plan that was designed, it was 4 feet lower,
Yeah.
because it was backfill raised slab. There is no intention to change that to a crawl space up front. And now the biggest reason is because we still have a higher street than we do for, as you can see from these side elevations. It doesn't change the fact that runoff water is going to come from Gum Street. So the desire to keep that out of the garage is still there because we still have to worry about that water coming in and seeping through.
Okay. Before the front elevations that you had, and we had talked a lot during our earlier meetings about, you know, the shape of the, you know, the
Arches and
arches on the front. Now that they're taller, they're a little more visible. Can you talk to me about, is there any depth change to these arches, or are they literally just like changes of color? Like how are you making them? So it would just be a shape?
My ears need help.
Behind it is a solid CND wall,
Yeah,
and those arches are typically framed out with, I think it's about a 2.5-inch reveal around, just to give it some depth.
what colors then are you gonna think about?
Hold on, we got the colors in this.
Colors down.
Mm.
But I did see that in this. So there you go, the foundation, is the gray cloud.
Yeah,
Would you like to see a depth change
well, I think a depth change is really nice.
with color? I mean,
But I'm also thinking that given that they're now a little more prominent, I would maybe review your color scheme and think about if the foundation wall is one color, maybe the arches are a color and maybe the inset, but subtle, like you don't want it to look like,
just like a couple shade difference.
yeah,
just
so,
something.
so that there's some feeling of depth of relief and creation of massing through that.
We
Because
definitely study that.
And there are plantings in front of that, right? I remember the landscaping. plan.
yeah, it's just, the plantings won't be this tall.
Do you mean trees?
Maybe you will make them that tall. Yeah, maybe they will be.
So I think that we could work with the interior designer and we can certainly find a nice, color that would complement and give a little more depth. I
Yeah,
don't think that, I don't see any issue with that. We invite you on that.
yeah. If that was achieved, I think that we would have still the kind of thing that we're looking for, which is just the articulation from the street. And I completely understand where you're coming from and why you have to make the change.
And did I see on the back, did you have to take a door off the back or add a door and move something to the side?
Thank you very much. Thank you. No, I really appreciate you bringing that up. It completely slipped my mind. So we actually, because of the change in the topography, so that's gonna be lower. We moved that door
To the
left
side.
Side elevation, so that they can get the lawnmower and that sort of thing in a lot easier.
Sure.
So we can
Yeah.
ramp up a little bit on that side.
Yeah.
Get right into the.
And that actually didn't require much grade change at all. It was, that
Close.
side was a lot friendlier with the,
Probably will work out a lot better for.
Yeah,
hindsight, guys.
Especially during flower town, there, got all the roads blocked and you need to get going out.
Sure. Right, you're right there.
All right, so I'd like to make, if any more comments from anyone? Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the drawings as submitted and ask the applicant to study the coloring on the front arches and infill area. And do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, thank you, Beth. All right, so Nancy Jean,
yes.
Rachel,
yes.
Yes.
Tim, yes. All right, thank you.
And
Good
then
luck.
the color change, probably, do we have to come back to this meeting? Or,
No, you can send the colors to me. I'll add it to the file and then I'll just, if they're painted the same color, I guess on my final inspection, I can bring you the paint and you can fix it.
okay, so we don't have to come back out for a meeting.
Good luck. You've earned the effort.
Thank you guys very much.
All right, thank you. Yes, you can.
Have you submitted these drawings to the building department yet?
We have not, but that we will be doing it tomorrow.
So-
We didn't want to submit anything until we had your approval. So we'll be running everything by the engineer, making sure which should be good. Because if there's ever a earthquake, that's the house you want to be in. I invite you guys to look at the foundation. It's pretty impressive. Yeah. they are.
Really? Whoa.
So we'll be crossing all of those boxes and make sure that everybody.
Okay,
Good.
Thank you.
Mhm.
okay.
Thank you guys so
All
much.
right, you're welcome. Thank you. You're welcome.
Yeah, the problem is that you have to have stamped plans that say, have the town seal on them from the building department. So, y'all will need to just resubmit your new drawings. I'll go ahead and add a route for the building official and myself. I'll add the notes from tonight. And then I'll let Dawn and Rebecca, the deputy, know about it
Now we're-
tomorrow. So hopefully it shouldn't be an
Be more.
issue, but I'll make sure I get with them in the morning and reach back out to y'all.
Right, that's right.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Right. All right, you're welcome. Thank you. Good luck. Now we'll have 300 South Main Street.
This is a resubmittal of a previously approved cottage and relocation of a garden shed. There's some changes in design. And I'll let Mike explain that. I think I actually, yeah, so I put the conceptual or what was approved previously first.
Yes, good evening, 300 South Main, this is the cottage that's going in the back. I had presented several months back, four months back. It was gonna be larger, and after considering the trees, we talked a lot about trees over the last 3 or 4 jobs, so I took it very. So I couldn't accommodate a 1,000 square foot cottage back there based on trees, places to construct, so. We downsized it, from the front elevation. It's gonna look exactly the same, except it's smaller, instead of 24 feet, it's 16 feet. So the whole thing is went from, I think, a little over 1,000 square feet down to roughly 560.
Hmm.
So, considerably smaller, but, still everything that was approved last time is almost identical. The front is identical, except like I said, smaller. And the front being the smaller side, yes, right there. That is as the last plan submitted. This was the major change, the side. Instead of having 2 doors. Instead of having 2 doors and windows, we go with 1 door. Couple of windows, there we go. So,
Yeah.
I think that actually turned out a lot better.
Yeah.
So.
And your
That's-
detailing on the columns, are you gonna keep that or are you,
So,
we had talked about mimicking from the front of the house,
Yes.
your main house to the cottage, but I didn't know.
right, we had thrown around a bunch of things, but I thought where we had landed was the columns that I am proposing to use on the cottage. When I originally remodeled the house 3 years ago, there was an existing back screen porch, and everything I pulled out of the house, I say, all the wood, the column, it gets roofing, everything. So I have the original 4 columns off the back. They are different than the front. They are 6x6 with a tapered edge. It's like a 45 that goes up the side of the column. At the bottom, there's about a foot square and it goes in the paper. And then at the top, there's a smaller area at the top, probably 6 inches. Really, there's nowhere in any picture that you could pick up on any of that detail, but they are the original column off the house. And at the back of the house, there's square pickets when you turn the corner. So we've got the turn ballast in the front, and then when you go around the house, it's square pickets. That's how I bought it. But anyhow, that's kind of why on the cottage I wanted the back to kind of match the back, so I was going to use the square pickets with the existing square columns that I can pull on the house originally from the column.
And Mike, where were those columns again on the house when they're from the remodel?
They're 6x6s.
Right, but they were on the front of the house or?
No, sir, they were, yeah, they were on the, you really couldn't see it from the street.
There was a screen in porch.
That's right.
There's a screen in porch right there.
We added the right side.
Mm-hmm. And when we came last time, I know the drawings show one thing here with these fancy columns and handrails, and I vaguely remember this, but what did we approve, Becca?
I have the plan.
I'm assuming but see that elevation shows those fancy columns.
Gingerbread.
Yeah, and all the gingerbread and everything, which is beautiful.
But I can also.
While we're
see-
waiting on Becca to look at that,
Sorry, I could also see reusing what came off the existing home.
if they were truly original, I
Yeah,
mean, they were off the back, the porch, they could have been replaced multiple times,
yeah.
you know, they didn't,
The amount of paint that was on these.
right,
But I mean, I can't say they were 1887 columns.
right.
That's the house, but definitely they are very old. I mean, that screen portion looked to be original.
While we're waiting on Becca to look up that, any other design comments from the reduced size or scale? Do you guys have any other comments for that?
My only other comment is about the door. And I kind of like the door design that you had previously. Partly because I felt like it was like a simpler design, like just the door with the transom above, and it kind of suited a cottage. And I also just liked how it kept the sort of the rhythm going. And this kind of door feels like it's more like what it would be like as a front door, where you'd have the side lights and the piece over. So I'd be interested in hearing what my fellow board members think. Because it's the only piece I don't like about what you've presented. I think every other part. I'm glad you're thinking about the trees. I'm glad that it's actually smaller. I think it's very appropriate. I think the design is nice. I'm just not 100% sold on your door.
Certainly from the original where we're going, I think it's awesome. But it is a larger door. The whole thought process with that door was to bring more light into what is going to be the kitchen right there. So that was why the side lights went on there.
Becca, can you scroll through to the new door page?
Sorry, for some reason, the internet's working on this computer, but not on my laptop, so. I'm
Okay.
Trying to get to my.
So that's glass in the top and bottom of the door and then glass side lights and above, or is it a wood door with glass around it?
That is glass at the top of that door. So
Okay.
So it's a half light.
it's a half
Okay.
light.
Yeah, this
and then
door,
the
right?
Yeah, yeah.
side glass.
This door. Yeah. Well, you know,
And you
So-
walk right into the kitchen right there? Is that what
Yes.
you're saying? Okay.
Yeah, so when you walk in, the kitchen's kind of right there, and then the living room is to the right, so it's a big open room that's
Oh,
gonna
I
be
see, yeah.
vaulted ceiling, and I think it's gonna be a really nice area.
yeah, I think
Is it
so
a
too.
rendering? Just out of curiosity.
Yes, that was asked. It eventually may be. My father-in-law is back in town, is not in good health. So he may move in there for a time, and then my daughter is still with us, but in college, but believe it or not, she doesn't want to be in the house with us. So I think it may be a father-in-law, daughter.
Sure.
My parents are 75, 76. So it's going to be probably something that we use personally for a few years. I'm not saying it won't be around at some point. But yeah.
So on the certificate of appropriateness for the previously approved design, for the cottage, the conditions were add a freeze board, approximately 5 to 8 inches, detail similar to the one on the main house. Windows must be simulated divided light, enhanced front stair railing, detail, it's too small, thin as shown on drawings. Utilize square railing spindles, reuse found materials for porch posts.
Okay, all right. All right, thank you.
And that detail was added with the freeze that you can see. in
Mhm.
the drawing.
All right. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
I'm comfortable with the changes.
Okay. And are Rachel's concerned on the doors? Do you have any concern there?
I'm okay with the doors, and I think that what his description of what those columns are something I've seen
Yeah.
in older houses, and I think that's a dandy fit, and it's not right out there in the front anyway.
Yeah.
I think it's nice to be able to attach those as a part of history.
Beth?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And I am too. I mean, I get the door, but it also doesn't, when I looked at it the first time, I didn't object to it either.
Yeah.
And I can understand the need
I
for.
I don't
lighting, so,
have a strong enough objection to die on my sword here,
Right,
so
sure.
it's just a
Okay.
personal preference.
There was one other little detail that I don't even think was on. At the front elevation facing West Second, the siding, yeah, right there. The siding and the windows and everything is gonna match the house. To the left with the doorway with the transom, I wanted to do that out of a shiplap, just to change. I think the siding running across there is just not gonna look as good as making that something different.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would concur.
I'm okay with that too. I
Yeah.
think that's a good detail.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, I'll make a motion that we approve as submitted.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right, Nancy Jean?
Yes.
All right, Rachel?
Yep.
Beth?
Yes.
All right, and I'm yes as well. Good luck, Mike. All right, and we're to the new business, 612, right? Because 208 is not
Yes,
here.
so I just have to enter into the record that because Rachel would have to recuse herself for this agenda item. We do not have a quorum to vote on it, so it will be deferred to the special meeting that will be on October 26th.
Very good, thank you.
We'll move right on.
All right, so now we're at 612 South Laurel.
And just to go over my staff report very quickly. So this is a detached garage behind an existing home on South Laurel Street. It's going to be largely not visible from the right of way. There are some trees back there that the arborist and I will look at to make sure tree protection is adequate during permitting and construction. It appears zoning compliant and is similar to the other accessory structures on the street.
Good evening. My name is Butch Burbridge. I'm with Tupco. Our client is the advertising. Church there. So it's based on the plat there. See there, we're adding a 16 by 22 foot single car garage. We kind of located it in the middle because of trees back there. Pretty basic, simple, and kind of in kit garage.
Can you go back to the site plan?
Sure.
Oh, I see. I thought that concrete patio was a building and I couldn't see how you could get into the garage.
Taking that out. Gotcha. Okay. And there's a tree on this right-hand side as well. What's driving that location? It's kind of an odd location. There's a patio. Mhm.
Hmm. So
Why?
is the drive gonna go right up against where the stairs are? I mean, you're gonna need a good 26 feet to back up out. And you're showing 25 feet between the garage and, is it the stairs? I'm just wondering if you actually have the space that you think you do to put it there.
From the bottom step to the base of the garage, is 25 feet.
Yeah.
But we can move it back. Yeah, I mean, they can slide back.
I don't think y'all are proposing a drive to go back there, are you?
Is it a drive? I mean, it's a car, isn't
It
it?
will be a driveway that comes back.
Okay, there wasn't one shown on the site.
It's
Didn't know if it was for storage or.
gravel.
What, will you park a car in there? So will you drive in, back out this way and then drive out?
Up in, back out, forward, out.
So really, almost all of the space between the existing house and the garage will be solid
Back up space.
Drive.
Is there a reason you're so far off the property line, the 16 feet? I mean, it doesn't matter to me personally. It's just kind of really a personal question. It's just odd placement.
To the site, backyard. Full of
Hmm.
with the trees. And I think that was Father's Way preference. We wanted to angle it and Father Ray wanted to have it straight.
Okay. I see the tree over
So
there
those
on
are the
side.
stakes for the
Yeah,
four
those are
corners of the
four
building.
corners.
Okay.
The turnaround will be between where that concrete slab is and the garage itself.
Like you drive in, drive back out this
Mhm.
way, see all this is now back out space, and then drive forward. So it's literally the whole yard is gravel. If it seems unfortunate to me that, that all of that space, like, will it never want to be used as sort of backyard space?
Not for the trees. Trees will be there. Like that behind.
But are there not views from the windows where you might want to just have a nice view?
These are trees. Far out. Stop all the time. Bothered all the time, but people stop and feel obligated to talk to them, or they come knocking on the door knowing there's various seats of car there, so they're gonna go up and do whatever. You would like to have a little bit more privacy to bring his car around the back so people don't know when he's there. The other issue is he has to back out onto Laurel Avenue. And it is a terrible street.
Yeah, no, I can appreciate he'll want to back up and then drive out safely and comfortably.
You will be able to see a portion of the backyard from the left side of the garage. Because there's still plenty of space between the back of the garage and maybe like a tree that runs along the back between his property, Mayor Waring's property.
Just a note, and I mentioned about working with the arborist on this. He has not seen this plan yet because it hasn't gone through permitting. So I would say that there's probably a very good chance that the arborist will ask y'all to move it as far away from that big magnolia as possible.
Yeah,
If, so basically the way our ordinance is written, is that you cannot encroach into the tree protection area unless it is otherwise unavoidable. And that's the standard that he has to review, you know, these locations of buildings at. So the protection area is a foot per caliper inch of the tree. So that means for this magnolia tree, 22 feet out in any direction would be that tree protection area.
What is the proper setback? 10 feet?
I believe this is GR,
isn't it 10 feet on the side?
this is GR2, so it would be 10 feet on the side, yes. But that being said, I just because there wasn't a driveway shown, I probably wrongly assumed that this might have just been for storage rather than for an actual vehicle. But I would just as a heads up, that is probably going to be something where you're going to most likely have to relocate your proposed location. Now, if he does make that decision, there is the tree protection board, which you can appeal that decision to if you would like it in the location you want, and there's a disagreement there, and it's going to depend on the health of that magnolia tree as well. So I won't go down to assuming that you're going to need an arborist, but you may need to involve one separate from the towns. But just so everyone's aware, it may be that location changes.
Becca, I can't read the dimension between the corner of the house and the property line. Is there room for a drive to go through there? Oh, 9 feet. Oh, you're going up that side.
So the drive is existing, or is it just? Okay,
Okay.
so
Wanted to go up to that side, but you had the porch there. That side of the house. Behind that is the air conditioning.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd be interested to know when the survey was done, because that doesn't look, it looks like
Yeah, it doesn't
It
look
goes
quite
on
the
to-
same, does it?
this, okay.
In the middle of what?
Oh, I see. Their drive is on your property.
Gotcha.
Okay.
All right. Well, what about the detailing of the garage? Is everybody
Let's
okay with
look at
the
that.
simple detailing? So what is the siding going to be, guys? Okay, so painted hardy. And in this kit that you buy, does it come with the hardy? Because a lot of times those kits come with like masonite or something else like that.
It's more just a drawing. We're gonna stick build.
You're gonna stick build this, okay? All right,
Shingle roof. Side man door.
and can you show us those elevations at the back up?
Mhm.
And are you gonna do a carriage style garage door? A carriage style garage door?
Okay, and that's not what's shown there, by the way,
Mm-mm.
just. So I think what I would say, and I realize that this is not a fancy house that we are matching,
Mm.
but I would say that the trim details should still be similar to the house. And so that means there shouldn't be no trim on this garage, right? Or if the corner boards on the house are 1x4s and the garage ought to have 1x4s or whatever those trim details are. so that it matches in the garage door. We don't typically approve this kind of door, so a carriage style garage door, which it just has a little more architectural appeal to it. That's all it's going to be. And then the 3030 slider, we typically wouldn't approve that either. So that would be a window that matches the windows in style of the house.
Yeah.
And so other than that, it's kind of tucked behind the house. It's a simple house. I'm pretty much okay with it unless you guys have different opinions or added details.
I just made a note about maybe an eyebrow above the.
Yeah. And I would typically agree with that. But the house is so simple. Maybe put back up the elevations of the house. I just want to be in context to the house, you know,
I think
Mhm.
that's what it is.
that little eyebrow over the. Mhm. Gotcha. Okay. But so some windows similar to what's in the house. And I think that looks like, is that masonite? That's on that, is that masonite siding on the house? Yeah, or asbestos siding, is that asbestos siding? So obviously you can't get asbestos siding and the siding's not going to match that. No, but just put some trim around the corners and the rake and stuff, you know, so it's just has a little detail to it, a little depth to it.
Yeah.
One of the things we want to bring up. that Father Ray is best, he's a very patriotic person. He wanted to do white siding. I think we have to call it. He wanted the door to be that.
The garage door?
Mm,
I would probably say no.
Yeah, I would have to probably agree.
I mean, I think if you look at carriage style doors,
Yeah.
they're. you
He
know,
can hang as many flags as he wants.
Yeah.
Don't have a rule against that.
Yeah.
I said,
Yeah.
we don't have a rule against that. He can hang as many American flags.
Flags as you want. Yeah.
He could have a red door, a man door, could be the red door, or the man door could be the blue door, but
We're okay with going with the flag.
Okay, I would say
I think
that would be appropriate. I appreciate that. Just
Door on the left.
mhm.
yeah,
That's right.
Or red front door.
He doesn't have to walk to the street. He's got it.
Mm.
yeah.
Okay. All right, so I'll make a motion that we approve as submitted with the understanding that the applicant will install corner boards and other trim details around the doors and windows. The windows will be similar in style to the house, and the garage door will be a carriage style garage door, not as submitted in the plans.
And there will, not a slide window in the back.
Right, no slider. It will be a double hung window like this.
Did you say that you wanted a little eyebrow above that door on the garage, or is that not important to you?
Beth decided to drop that, I think.
Yeah. Let's see if it were more visible,
Yeah.
Yeah.
maybe, but
Yeah.
since
It's such a simple house.
Yeah.
So. All right,
I'll second.
thank you. Second, Miss Jean.
Yes.
All right, Rachel.
Yep.
Beth.
Yes, yes.
And I'm yes as well. All right, good luck, guys.
I'll send
You're
y'all the
welcome. Thank you.
certificate tomorrow, the certificate of approval. I'll send it to you tomorrow and I'll send you some details of carriage style doors. Yes, I sign off on the building permit as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good night, y'all. All right, so do I have a motion that we adjourn? And second, all in favor, say aye.